This is the Moonlight Graham Show, a freewheeling conversation with the role players, the underdogs, and guys with flat-out great stories in sports.
Hello and welcome back to the Moonlight Graham Show, and our Moonlighter for this week is 6'5", 215 pounds of pure left-handed power coming at you from 60 foot, 6 inches away. His name is Daniel Tillo. From Sioux City, Iowa, Daniel Tillo is currently on the Kansas City Royals 40-man roster, but he has not yet made his major league debut. But when he does, he will be the 10th guy from Sioux City, Iowa ever to make the major leagues. And chances are that Daniel Tillo will make that happen either sometime here in 2021 or 2022. See, Tillo, even though he got placed recently on the Royals 40-man roster, just last summer, he actually had Tommy John surgery, and he's just now starting to throw, getting back into shape from that Tommy John surgery. But the Royals think so much of him as a prospect that they wanted to protect him on that 40-man roster, and he has a really bright future ahead of him on that Royals pitching staff. I mean, he's a guy, like I said, 6'5", throws really, really hard from the left-handed side. He's had that fastball up to 96, 97 miles an hour, but it hasn't always been baseball that have made the headlines for Daniel Tillo. The first time I ever heard his name, it was because of football. He was a 6'5", 215-pound quarterback in high school. And you know we love the multi-sport athletes here on the Moonlight Graham Show. And not only was he an awesome, unbelievable record-setting quarterback in high school, but he was also the Mr. Basketball in the state of Iowa back for Sioux City North. And so instead of picking, basketball or football to play in college, he made, of course, the right decision, the smart decision to follow his dreams on the diamond. And he actually started his college career at Kentucky before transferring to Iowa Western Community College before becoming a professional. And he has quickly rocketed up the minor leagues to the point today where his major league debut is right on the horizon. And so this was really fun to get in touch with Daniel Tillo and to talk about his sports career. But what really raised my eye when I saw Daniel Tillo on Twitter, and I've been following him for a while now, is he is really into baseball cards and sports cards. And of course, I love sports cards. I was a child of the 80s. We had that big sports card boom in the late 80s and early 90s. So it was cool to see a younger kid. Daniel Tillo's 24 years old, but he has that same passion for sports cards to the point where on his Twitter account and on his YouTube channel, he is constantly doing unpackings and showing all of the new cards and their values on kind of a pretty regular basis. And it's been fun to follow along. So we had to talk about sports cards with Daniel Tillo as well. And I think you guys are really going to love this episode. It's always fun to talk to an athlete where so much of their career is still in front of him. And Daniel Tillo has got a really bright future, and you guys are going to love this one. And if you like what we're doing here on the Moonlight Graham Show, make sure to subscribe to our podcast wherever it is that you get your podcast. And we would love it, folks. We would love it if you left us a 5-star review. You can also follow the show on social media, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. We love hearing from you guys each and every week. So enjoy today's episode with Moonlighter Daniel Tillo. So Daniel Tillo of the Kansas City Royals organization, welcome to the Moonlight Graham Show.
Thank you for having me on. It's a blessing. Thank you.
Dan, where are you at right now? Are you back in Sioux City right now?
I am actually. I'm in Sioux City just for Christmas break, and then after the new year, I'll be flying back to Arizona to rehab. So we had a snowstorm the other day, so I didn't miss that a whole lot. So I'm ready to get back there and get back to work.
So being part of the Royals organization, I think the obvious first question is, have you met George Brett yet?
Yes, I have met George Brett. Very few words said in that convo, but I have met him, yes.
Is he still the guy in the Royals organization that you got to meet? In the Twins organization for a long time, it was like Harmon Killebrew. And you have these famous Hall of Famers that come around at spring training. They're around the team quite a bit. George Brett's still part of the team in Kansas City every now and again. Is he still the guy?
Yeah, he's definitely the most known Royal for sure. Fans at spring training are always trying to get his autograph, stuff like that. So he's definitely still pretty much the talk of Surprise Arizona when we were there for spring training.
Now, in 2020, it was a weird year, weird baseball season, weird year for sports, but the Royals organization actually came out looking pretty good. People were saying, Dayton Moore and the Royals, they're really taking care of not only their minor leaguers, but what they've done with the organization. They've really made it an organization that people wanted to be a part of. So what was 2020 like for you as part of that organization?
Yeah, for sure. First class organization within the people and the coaching staff and the front office. They're just great people. They said right away, if there's not a season, minor leaguers will be paid. So that's always great to hear, because some teams didn't want to do it. And then once they kind of got that pressure from kind of the media a little bit that other teams are doing it, more teams started, paying their minor leaguers, and Royals were all about it from the beginning. They treat us right. We get so much, a lot of nice food. We have awesome weight room. I just so thankful that the Royals chose me. They just treat their players how they should be treated, for sure.
How many games did you get in? Were you at the alternate training site? How did you spend the season last year?
Yeah, I mean, with Corona obviously happening, I was at home for a while, and I couldn't even go. I live right by Sioux City North baseball field. My brother's the head coach there, so nice. I was kicked off a few times because even that was closed. So I had to buy a net off eBay and throw in my backyard. And the thing is, I was feeling really good at spring training this year. My arm was feeling awesome. I had 2 outings. One outing didn't go too well. It was my first one. Nerves were kind of on me a little bit. But then the second outing went well. Arm was feeling good. I was throwing some cheese too, so that felt good. But then I think the Corona also made me take a step back, because I ended up blowing my arm out when I was in Kansas City. I had to get Tommy John, but I was at Kauffman Stadium the whole time. It was we were going to get split up to go to the other stadium. It's the T-Bones. They used to be with the Explorers.
Oh yeah, they were in the independent, American Association.
American Association, yes, they were in that. So that's where the other team was, pretty much the younger guys, while the big league team was at Kauffman, obviously. So I didn't get split up, but there's a good chance I was going to, but I still had a chance to make the team.
Do you think that disruption in the routine of the season contributed to, the Tommy John and you're, messing your arm up? And because, we're all creatures of habit, especially pitchers. And if you fall out of that routine, it just, you feel different on the mound some days, and your arm feels different, and you can't push as hard as you want to, or let it go as much as you want to on certain days. And, and that's when injuries kind of happen.
Yeah, no, you hit that right on the head. I truly believe that's kind of a big reason why my ligament in my elbow blew out, was because of that. Being a pitcher, my arm, in high school, I would only play baseball 3 months out of the year. I didn't really care about baseball a whole lot until senior year, when I started getting some interest for colleges. So being a pitcher, the routine is the biggest part in our sport. We're so set in stone what we're doing, whether we're lifting that day, running that day, but every day, you need to throw. And that's how my arm just works. If I don't throw, if I take a day off of throwing, my arm does not feel good the next day.
I was the same way. I was even on days where I was hanging, I was still getting some light tossing. I hated going a day without throwing.
Yeah.
Some guys, but not everybody's that way too. Some guys take a day or two off, but I was I'm throwing 11 months out of the year.
Yeah. I feel like even throwing that much, you build strength in your arm, and your arm's just so used to it, I took a day off and I was hanging for a while. So it was a lot harder to do my long tossing. My backyard's not big. I live in the city. We don't have a big backyard. So I was just throwing into my net as much as I could. I was trying to throw hard into it, but it's different, mechanically, you can't long toss into a net that's 5 foot tall pretty much. So I tried to make as much as I could, but unfortunately, I feel like it did have something to do with my Tommy John surgery.
So I know a lot of guys after they have Tommy John, like you can tell just from their mechanics before Tommy John and after Tommy John, like things get a lot shorter, bringing the ball up here and like you lose this kind of long swoop. And that's kind of the thing now. And I played with a bunch of guys that had to make that adjustment during rehab. Are you going through that now? Like, are you making mechanical adjustments or do you need to during your rehab?
So right now, I've not really focused on that yet. I actually haven't touched a baseball yet still since I had surgery in late July. So I am actually throwing off my knee we're out to 45 feet Monday and Wednesday of next week. It's going to be my first time throwing. I'm throwing at my old high school gym, and it's going to be fun to be throwing off a knee even. But once, I get going off mounds, that's kind of when I can really adjust with my mechanics. I'm a guy that I can't really see it as much. If someone showed me a picture of it, I got to do it. I'm more of a hands-on guy where I got to feel what I'm doing right and feel what I'm doing wrong, and then make my adjustment from there.
You brought it up earlier. You were a kid that played all the sports growing up. You went to Sioux City North High School. The first time I heard about you, Daniel, you had like 300 yards passing and 300 yards rushing against the Fort Dodge Dodgers. And I remember reading that article in the paper. I'm like, who is this guy? And then I'm looking you up as like 6'5", 220-pound quarterback, running and passing all over the place. What was your favorite sport growing up?
Football was a lot of fun for sure. That was a great time.
Well, especially when you can put up numbers like that, right?
That definitely helps. Winning helps too. We were okay in football in high school, but basketball probably growing up, if I had to pick one, was probably my favorite. But at the end of the day, whatever season it was, if it was fall, I was playing football. If it was winter, I was playing basketball. And if it was the summertime, I was pretty much playing baseball. So I just love being around my friends and in the locker room camaraderie with it. You develop friendships and best friends from that, playing with, kind of the same guys in all three sports. Like they're kind of your brothers growing up, it seems like. So I love them all the same, but if I had to do one, if I had to pick one, it probably would have been basketball.
So you were Mr. Basketball in the state of Iowa.
Yeah.
So I got to imagine you were getting looks because your interest in baseball happened later, like you mentioned. So I got to imagine like football coaches, like you were probably like an early Hunter Deckers who's at Iowa State right now. Like you kind of have that type of frame to you as a projected football guy, but basketball, you were Mr. Basketball. Like what was the toughest offer to turn down in those other sports?
Yeah. Basketball is I had a weird recruiting situation in basketball. Like my sophomore year, I had 3 Division I offers, and from South Dakota, San Jose State, and Northern Colorado. But then all 3 coaching staffs, the guys that offered me, either got fired or left the school and went to a different school and then just didn't re-offer me at their new school. So that kind of worked out that way. And then junior year, it didn't get a whole lot, but then senior year, there was some D1s late were interested, but I never got the full ride scholarship. I could have gone to pretty much any JUCO and played, or D2 and played basketball if I wanted to, but I wanted to play D1 at the end of the day somewhere. And luckily, honestly, thank God it worked out that way that no schools offered me for basketball. Cause I know for a fact, say I played basketball, I would not be in this situation where I'm at today, being on the roster for the Royals. I wouldn't be on the dang Toronto Raptors roster. You know what I mean? Like the long road of things, I chose the sport that's going to be good for me and hopefully, can benefit my family and, generate kind of generational thing. You know what I mean? Stuff like that, where NBA, obviously that was not going to be my route, but MLB, like that's a legit thing that can happen now.
For sure. And what I love about your story too is you go to college at Kentucky, but then you choose to go back to Iowa Western, the JUCO route, right? I was a JUCO guy. I went to Iowa Central, then I went to UNI. So I love the JUCO route. And it seemed like, I don't know what it was at Kentucky, but you found your home at Iowa Western. What was it about the JUCO route and Iowa Western in particular that was like made you feel comfortable and helped you excel as a ball player?
Yeah. Well, actually, the funny thing is, out of high school, I was actually gave the verbal commit to Coach Reardon at Iowa Western, and I was going to play basketball there too. I was going to do both.
Oh,
Yeah. But then it's just,
that would have been a bad idea.
you think?
Well, like there's just no time.
Yeah, that's true. That is true. But
Like, you know how important the winters are for pitchers and stuff?
yeah, you're right. For baseball wise, yeah.
It would have been fun.
It would have been fun. There's like different like scenarios for that and going to Kentucky. Like Kentucky, I learned like I need to get better and I didn't pitch a whole lot. So, an extra gear turned on again, to where, the long road of things where I want to be and how I need to get there. Kind of, I love the relationships I had at Kentucky too. Good friends, great friends, the coaching staff I like, but the difference is like you need to pitch in games to get completely better. Bullpens only do so much for you. You got to be in games, in competition, getting better, competing with other people, that are similar to you and better than you for me to like reach my potential, stuff like that.
What was the biggest difference between SEC baseball and JUCO baseball?
Pretty much everything. I mean, literally, like, it's just a whole nother step ahead of it. But the one thing I will say about JUCO is there's like not a time restraint for practices or anything. So,
right.
You'd have the 2-a-days for baseball in the fall. Even I never even heard of that, but I'd be going to the field twice every Tuesday, Thursday, and then you practice every single day for multiple hours. Not like Kentucky where it's strict. Like if you practice over the time, like the program can get in trouble. But at JUCO, you're out there grinding. It's definitely a grind, and like
the cream rises to the top.
Definitely,
a lot of guys drop out. A lot of guys can't take it.
Exactly, you hit that one perfectly on the head. Like the guys that aren't mentally, prepared for that, it definitely the cream does rise to the crop for sure.
That's what struck me. Like I went, JUCO, then UNI Division I, right? And I was used to the 2-a-days. I was used to the midnight practices or waking up at 3 a.m. or whatever it was to practice. And then you get to NCAA rules and there's like people timing practices to make sure you're not going over the hour limitations because of like student athlete rights or whatever. And I just couldn't believe how little time we had.
Crazy.
At level as compared to JUCO, like you're at the field all day. You're just you're shagging fly balls for 2 hours, then you're conditioning, and then it's just all day.
Yeah, me and you. I mean, we did the opposite road. You went JUCO first. I went JUCO. I was like dumb out of high school, kind of. I was too worried about the status of going to an SEC school to where what fits me right in the program where I should be to help me become the better player and person that I need to be. I was too focused on like going to the SEC and making my image look cool. You know what I mean? Like a lot of kids realize like it's not all about that. You got to do what's best for you, where you're going to play, where, the right location for you, stuff like that. And I overlooked that. And that's why I was kind of glad I went to Kentucky because I figured that out too. And then you go back to Iowa Western, it's just a grind and, you're just so appreciative of things. So.
And what I always thought was interesting about like JUCO baseball too, is there's tons of talent. Like that's kind of a misconception there's SEC, big time Division I, there's loads and loads and loads of talent. But then you get at these JUCO programs, there's a lot of talent there as well. But a lot of times, guys have different issues. Like guys don't like going to class, or guys get caught up in the wrong crowd, or guys got home issues and they don't make it. And I was always surprised by how many talented guys, whether it's at Division I or JUCO, just baseball in general, never make it because of all these other things that crop up in life.
Yeah, definitely. JUCO for sure. Like we had 14, 15 Division I guys from my sophomore year that went on, and a few guys that got drafted with me. So definitely it's kind of a maturity thing too, that helps for sure.
So you're right on the cusp right now. You're coming back from Tommy John. You're on the 40-man roster, which the Royals are showing a lot of faith in you, in your career, and the expectations that they have for you. What do you think you need to do as a pitcher, as a player, as a member of the Royals to like take that next step?
Well, get healthy. It's the one part. hopefully come back and, just be stronger than what I was before. I just have a lively fastball. That's kind of been my bread and butter. I've had a good fastball that moves well. I've always not known exactly if I'm going to cut it, or I throw a sinker, but then a four-seam fastball, but sometimes it cuts too. So I kind of have a little bit of, both directions going on, and I throw hard. So that helps for sure. It's just going to be whether or not, I throw enough strikes with that, and my slider plays well off of that. And then I should, if all those things come into play, I should be able to, pitch in the big leagues and hopefully for a long time.
As you're like working out and trying to stay in shape, I know you're not throwing a lot right now, but What's your favorite workout to do that's kind of like your checkpoint? Like, we all have these own internal motivations things, and you played a bunch of sports, so I'm sure you got a million different ways to work out, whether it's shooting hoops or running killer drills or heading to the football field and doing things. What's like the Daniel Tillo go-to internal workout that you do?
For conditioning wise, I'm not a big believer in like long distance conditioning. I kind of stick
You're new school.
I am new school with that. I'm a guy that sticks to, to shorter distance, but higher intensity stuff. Just trying to be as explosive as possible. I need my arm moving quickly. The fast twist muscles, I want to be really sharp to help me, throw hard and rip that slider. So for conditioning wise, I stick to sprints and stuff like that. But for lifting wise, I like to do it all. I do it all traditional, the old school stuff. I squat. Haven't hang cleaned. I used to hang clean, but with my elbow, I still am not allowed to hang clean. But a lot of pitchers, like the old school, they wouldn't bench press as much. But I think the new school is also like, I've been bench pressing my whole life. Once I have never taken that off really. Some teams or pitchers believe, it's a bad idea, but
right. We never would touch it. Like I was, 10 years before you, and it was all dumbbells, like there was you'd never, hang cleans were out, bench press was out, anything above the shoulder was out.
Yeah. See, that's different. Like we do over the shoulder stuff all the time now. Even within the Royals, like we do a lot of dumbbell bench pressing with the Royals, but when I'm back home, I'll still take the barbell out and bench. It's what's gotten me here. You know what I mean? So I'm not going to change stuff up now just because I got, this close to making the big leagues. I'm going to do what has paved my way each and every year. I just want to be as explosive and as strong as possible. And I feel like that's just going to help me with my fastball and my slider. And when I, change up even all that stuff. So
what music are you listening to in the weight room?
I like to listen to, it's on SoundCloud, I think. I like to listen to, they're called Big Booty Mixes.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah. So I listen to like 12 or 13 a day. They have just a bunch of them, and they're just a bunch of random songs mixed together of like famous songs, and they're all kind of pump up and like you kind of get you going. So that's what I've been listening to.
I like that. You especially with the squats, because that's where the pitcher's power comes from. So you got to get that big booty going.
Yeah, exactly.
So Daniel, what I love about following you on Twitter has been your like obsession maybe with sports cards.
Yeah.
And I was a kid, I was born in 86. And so late 80s, early 90s was like the sports card boom.
Yeah.
Right. And that's where like the market became really flooded. Everybody thought they were going to find baseball cards in their grandparents' attic that were worth millions of dollars.
Yeah.
And then the industry really took a dive for like 20 years, but it seems like it's back, and it's back and bigger than ever. But you're younger than me. And I found it interesting that like a guy in his mid 20s now is into baseball cards and sports cards. So how did that happen?
Yeah. I've been big into cards for a while now. Especially once I signed with the Royals and I finally, didn't have to ask my parents for, $20 to buy a box at Walmart, finally have some of my own money to spend. But yeah, I grew up, it was probably when I was 10 or so, 11. So 2005, 2006, my older brother, Nick, got me into it. Like we're like still hooked to this day. I'm going over to his house later tonight to do stuff with cards actually. So I'm excited for that even. But each Christmas we'd always get like a hobby box where you can pull a few autographs of like, the pros. So every Christmas since. We've been doing it each year. My mom still gets us one each, and we see who has the better box and who did better. I actually pulled the Jimmy Garoppolo auto this year, so I did better than my brother Nick this year. But it's just kind of a tradition thing that we do every year. It makes me feel like a kid again. It's my favorite present still. It brings me back to those days in 05 when I pulled my favorite card of this day. It was like $100 at a time, and now it's like $2. You remember Felix Jones, the running back he played at Arkansas?
Yeah, he went to Arkansas. Yep.
Yeah. I pulled a sweet jersey autograph card of him, and I still have it, and it's numbered to 10. And we thought that was the biggest thing ever at the time. And that's just a card that I will treasure forever, to make me bring myself back to when I was a kid and how much I enjoyed stuff like that.
Yeah, and so you've always had that passion, but the industry has come back. You see Gary Vee's big into this, Darren Ravel's big into it, and it seems you do on anything sports cards, on Twitter and YouTube. You got your own channel. You do these pack breaks that are a new thing. So what is that industry like, and why is it why are the prices of cards seeming to go up right now?
Yeah, it's just so crazy. You can find the box at Walmart. That's $20, and you can sell it online for $100. So other people that flip that stuff to make profit are even in it now, and they buy their own cards. It's kind of like the stock market in a way. If a player does well, their card prices go up. So the basketball's hotter than anything right now. So Trae Young and Luka Doncic, the cards are through the roof because they think they're going to be the next LeBron James. While LeBron's are obviously out of reach for a lot of people because his base rookie card costs $20,000. You know what I mean?
Wow. Can you still get a LeBron card in a pack though?
Yes, you can. Yes, but it's not his rookie card, and it's not going to go for what that is. So that people are thinking, oh man, Luka's card from 2018, his silver that you could have saw at Walmart. You could have bought the packs at Walmart for $20. It's a silver card of Luka, and it's his rookie card, and it grades a PSA 10 out of 10. They sell for $8,000 to $9,000 that you could have found at Walmart. So it's hidden. That was there at Walmart for those 2 years, and the shelves used to be full of cards too. Not many people were in it, and now I go to Walmart and I can't see a single card there. There's nothing there because people are kind of waiting to get it, to flip it, to make some money quick.
Right. So how exciting was it for you to have your first card?
Man, I can't even really remember the feeling of it. I can't really remember the time I first noticed I had a card. I don't remember seeing a checklist of me. I just remember on eBay one time I searched my name and there's my card. And I was like, oh, that's so sick. I was super excited. I was sending it to my brother. I was like, dude, I have cards of myself on there. So I have most of my first cards ever made now in the whole rainbow. They're all numbered to different out of $2.99, $1.99, all the way to 1 of 1. So I have 6 1-of-1s of me now, and I think someone told me on Twitter yesterday it goes to 8. There's 4 printing plate or 6 printing plates or something, and then I have my super refractor and a black paper 1 of 1. So I'm missing one card out of all my Bowman first cards that are ever made, and it's the red paper numbered to 5, and I still haven't seen it on eBay or Twitter or Instagram or anything. And you
realize you're pretty nerdy about this, right?
Yeah,
you're talking. I'm into baseball cards, and you're talking way over my head.
It's exciting. I'm so nerdy about it. I can't wait to have my own house someday, and I'm gonna put all my cards on a wall. It's gonna be so exciting.
I'll have to send you my card. I have one card. I actually have 2 Northwoods League cards and then one card from the Frontier League.
I like that.
They're all have a sponsor on it. It's brought to you by Culver's,
Yeah. Yeah. You can send it to me signed. I'll take that.
Yeah. Yeah. Make sure you frame it. Put it in a special place.
I'll put it right by my pictures or my cards.
So Daniel, the way we end every episode of the Moonlight Graham show is with the 5 big questions. All right.
Okay.
So buckle up. So first question is, who's your all-time favorite teammate?
Wow. I have a few I could pick from. In high school, probably Robert Newstrom, who also
hell of a player.
Yes, he was also drafted the year after me, and we went to high school at Sioux City North together. So we had a good couple years of runs with sports because we played football, basketball, and baseball together. So we were on the same team forever. So he was definitely one in high school for sure. Professionally, probably Tyler Zuber, actually, who's in the big league bullpen with the Royals right now. He got called up last year. He was up there the whole year. He had a solid year for a rookie, and I'm expecting him to have even a better year next year because that's just the player he is, and he kind of has some dog in him. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
He's a bulldog out there. He's not the biggest.
You need guys like that in the bullpen.
Exactly. You got to have that mentality if you come into the bullpen. You got to be ready to, throw it right past someone, like you're going to fight him or something and stuff like that. If you want to make it at the highest level, you need that. And he has that. And he's not a big dude, but that bulldog in him has a big bite. That's kind of the thing I like about him.
So we brought it up earlier, but you've had some like insane stat lines during your career. Like your basketball numbers in high school were insane. Your football numbers were, they were like Johnny Manziel in college type numbers. They were just all over the place. So like, what was the game of your life? It doesn't have to be baseball. Like what was the game of your life that you look back on and you're like, dude, that was unbelievable.
Yeah, my baseball stats were not anything spectacular in high school. I was just a raw pitcher that could throw hard. So baseball, there's obviously nothing really crazy. Football, it's hard not to pick the Fort Dodge one, obviously. Like that game was amazing. We ran like one play the whole time. It's just like a simple, we call it sandlot, and it's just based off of like what the defenders are doing. That's what our receivers just do the opposite of to get open. And we ran that the whole time, and I was just chucking it all game long. It was awesome. A couple 100 yards rushing. That was awesome. That football game for sure. And basketball probably against East, maybe sophomore year, I had 32 and 22 rebounds and we beat them. They were undefeated. It was our huge rivalry in Sioux City. Like it was crazy what was going on back then. So that game back then was a lot of fun, but those two were great memories for sure.
On the flip side of that, like what's the game that still nags at you, still keeps you up at night?
Probably my senior year to go to state. We're playing Abraham Lincoln, Council Bluffs, Abraham Lincoln, and Council Bluffs. We actually ended up beating them by one still, but I missed 2 free throws late to where like I never did that. Like I'm cashing those free throws late always. And like it was the loudest I've ever heard a gym before. I thought the hoop was shaking because it was so loud. We're playing at TJ, not the greatest gym, and it's just packed, sold out. It was just so hot in there, and like everyone was screaming so loud. Like it seemed like the hoop was moving, like I said, and I missed 2 free throws in a row, and I couldn't believe it. Like when I got fouled, I was like, yes, we have won this game. We're going to state again for the 3rd time in a row, and I missed those 2 free throws, but thank God we D'd it up late and they missed the last shot for us to win. But when I think about anything, it's like, man, I want those 2 free throws back. Even though we won the game, I still want those back. Because if they would have hit that shot and that's how we would have lost, I'd never, ever would have gotten over that one.
Tyler Zuber's not missing those free throws.
No, that bulldog.
So, you've probably had a chance to meet a lot of people, right? We mentioned George Brett earlier. But you're still young in your career. So like who is maybe it's the baseball player or like a future mentor, or maybe it's Tom Brady. I know you're a Brady guy. Like who's the one athlete type of guy that you want to meet?
I like Tom Brady a lot for sure. One athlete I'd like to meet. I'm also a big Baker Mayfield fan.
Oh.
Yeah, that might throw some people off. It does a little bit sometimes, but
he's got swag.
Again, that's a part of it, and that is why I like it. He just has that charisma about him, that he felt like he was an underdog his whole life, and he was a walk-on in college, and then turns into Heisman Trophy winner, 1st-round pick, and people were hating on him last year because he didn't have the greatest of years, and this year he's bouncing back, and hopefully they make the playoffs this weekend, stuff like that. So many people have just doubted the guy, and I just love how he overcomes it pretty much almost every time. And there's just something about Baker that, it's just that attitude that I like. And, it's just someone I meet someday for sure.
Cool. Well, final question then, Daniel. What's the best advice you've ever received?
This is kind of just a funnier one. This was in the summer this last year. We were on the conditioning field doing some PFPs, and Greg Holland, who was the late
legendary
reliever,
closer,
legendary with the Royals. He's a legend, and he had a great year last year. And I'm super excited to see him back at spring training this year because he's a great dude. He's hilarious, and he just gets it. I don't know. There's something about him that he just understands all of it. And he just said, sometimes, Tillo, all you need to do is just flip a curveball in there and hope for the best in his voice. So when in doubt, sometimes I just got to pray and flip one in there, and hopefully they miss it. And, I get a quick out that way. So I thought that was really, really funny when he said, I thought that was some good advice right there.
Well, yeah, your whole world can change as a pitcher when you just get a breaking ball over for a strike.
Yeah.
Like sometimes if your fastball is the best pitch, but you can't get anything else over, they're sitting on the fastball. But if you can flip a breaking ball for a strike, then everything else, then they got to think about everything else, and it makes everything, and like your whole world goes down. But I've been on the mound, man, where I'm out there, I can't find the zone. They know my breaking ball. I'm spiking it. They're sitting on my fastball. They know my changeup's crap. You know what I mean? It's like, what do I throw?
Yeah.
I got nothing. And that's why I'm running a podcast. That's why I'm running a podcast.
Good podcast, though.
Oh, thanks, man. Well, Daniel, thanks for coming on the podcast. It's been a pleasure. You're like our fifth Mr. Basketball that we've had on, but the only one that chose professional baseball. So I love that.
Awesome.
Cool. Well, good luck this spring. Good luck with the Tommy John recovery, and I'll send you that baseball card.
Thank you. Hey, I appreciate it.
Hey guys, thanks once again to listening to today's episode of the Moonlight Graham Show. And even though I do most of the interviews here on the podcast, there is a ton of work that happens behind the scenes that you guys don't see that make each episode possible. So I got to give a shout out to the Moonlight Graham Show team. First of all, Brian Sandvig, our producer. Brian does all of the post-production work, and in real life, he's not just a podcast producer, he's also a real estate agent. So if you're looking to buy or sell a home down in the Kansas or Missouri areas, give Brian Sandvig a call. Next guy on that list is Brendan Gargano. Brendan does all of our design and artwork here on the podcast. He's one of the most talented artists I've ever met, and I love all of his work. If you need any help on the design side with logos or anything like that, give Brendan Gargano a call. The next guy on that list is Andy Flattery, my older brother. Andy, of course, has done some of the interviews here on the podcast. He also is a certified financial planner. He owns a business called Simple Wealth Planning. If you need any help in that area, check Andy Flattery out. And then, of course, the trusty co-host Tom Griffin and my younger brother Neil Flattery. Those guys are just busy being husbands, being fathers, they're family men, but also they do a ton of work here on the show. So thanks again for listening. We really appreciate you guys subscribing and supporting the Moonlight Graham Show.